up into beginning of champ. I don't have any assistance for you if you want to go from champ 1 up the way, because I'm only champ 1, so I can't give you any more assistance. So if you're one of those, go watch somebody better than me. But yes, I get questions in my TikTok all the time on how can I improve and how can I move up the champ. Now, I proclaim when I'm streaming I'm a zero mechanic champ 1, but I genuinely believe with these tips you don't need the mechanics like flip resets, musties, blah 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 to get up into champ 1. I don't believe it despite what everybody in my comments says. I think it just takes some of these things. So watch to the end to make sure you get all of the tips that I'm here to give you. While you're here, don't forget to click that sub button to help me get to 3,000. That would be amazing of you all. Help a tiny little creator. And if you ever want to watch me streaming on TikTok, I am live 9 PM nights playing Rocket League. Anyway, I won't waste any more time. Let's get to it. So a little bit about me. I've been playing Rocket League for a good number of years, and in the last year or so I decided to take it a little bit more seriously to get myself up in the ranks. So me and my teammate Mr. Chunk30, who's up here, we managed to push champ end of last season, and now we've been pushing champ 1 this season, looking like we might make it to champ 2 by the end of this season. Between us I have zero mechanics. I cannot seal and shot, I can barely air dribble, I don't use half flips, I don't use speed kickoff, I don't use any of those stuff, I don't use it. You don't need it, and I genuinely believe you don't. And so I'm going to give you the tips that I think will help you move yourself, specifically in 2s. I'm garbage at 1s, I'm okay at 3s, I'm like high diamond in 3s, but my main one is 2s, I'm rubbish in 1s, but I'm going to try and help you in 2s to move yourself up into champ 1. So my first one is find a good teammate. Now, they don't even have to be a good player. Between us, we barely have a mechanic between me and Chunk. However, what we do have is fantastic communication. So even just the ability to talk, even if you're both ball chasing, even if you're both in their box, even if you're both all over the ball, you still have the ability to communicate with each other. Say, my ball, your ball, my ball, I'm going back, I need boost, blah, blah, blah. Don't take that for granted. If you random Q2s all the time or 3s and say, I don't know why I can't rank up all the time, why am I no ranking up, blah, blah, that's why. You need someone you can communicate with. They don't even have to be good. They can be dog shit. We got up to 3s from someone with a silver in 3s up to high diamond, literally with a silver in our team, who has zero mechanics and plays like a silver. But it's just because you have the communication, you can all talk to each other. Get in a party. Rocket League now has party chat in the game, so use it. You don't have to use Discord, you don't have to use anything. Use that and talk to each other. Tip number 1. Tip number 2, rotations. Now that we've worked on communication, you need to learn on rotations. And I don't mean rotations as in go watch a video and watch all the fancy rotations that all the pros do. By rotation, I just mean go for the ball, and when you have no boost and you've missed or any of that, just go back and let your partner come in. Say, I'm coming back, you go forward. And this back and forward in 2s is one of the most powerful things that will ever happen. So that back and forward all the time, I'm going, take your shot, do whatever you need to do, come back, take your shot, do what you need to do, come back, just say, I'm coming back, and don't be greedy. As long as you're not both ball chasing, you wait for them, that's great. So the next thing is, don't spend your time wasting time on mechanics. In my opinion, spending your time in training, try and sealing shots, try and musties, try and double flip resets, who cares? Me and Chunk have gotten to where we are mostly because of watching people that aren't that mechanically brilliant try stuff like that, and we capitalize and score. So if you're just going to not be able to do it in games, just wait. We are where we are without those mechanics, so you don't need them. If you're playing 1s, it's probably a different game, but if you're specifically in 2s, you don't need them. Fast ground game in training, practicing your aerials, maybe a little bit, practicing power shots away from goal, some backboard stuff, that's it. You don't need anything else. Practice going fast, scrap your wave dashes, scrap all that, ignore it, play the game and just get your practice through that. Then later on you can look at your training packs and so on and so forth. The next one is related to the communication ones, but placement. So wherever you are on the pitch, think about you want to be there for when your partner makes either a pass or messes up. So that way, if you're sitting at midline, right, so sitting right in the box with them means that when you're in sort of the plat level, what happens is the ball will bounce back, you'll find that you'll both be up, caught with your pants down in the box, and the ball's in your goals. So what I'm going to do is, in this rotation, when we talked about it before, once it's just by halfway or just behind, so that if the ball goes up in the air or anything like that, you can say, I'm going for it, you can call for a pass, but you're far enough back that you can then travel back to make sure that you're going to get a save off. That makes sense? Yeah, so whenever you're doing rotations, think about that. If you're on the offense, one sits round about halfway line just behind and the other one is attacking, and that way you can rotate in that area while you're attacking, and if the ball flies over, you've got enough time to get yourself all the way back. This one is, you don't always need to have 100 boost, right? I can't stress this enough. If you imagine, I'll put a little picture up here. If you imagine the ball's on its way straight across, sometimes what you'll have the tendency to do, and in other ranks as well, you'll have in lower ranks as well, you'll have the tendency to do, is drive towards the boost when you need to get the ball, right? If the ball's going to go into the net, whether you've got 0 boost or 100 boost is absolutely irrelevant. You need to think about realistically, do I get to the boost before the ball is there, or can I have to go ball first? Always think ball first. Ball's always important, ball over boost, for me in the lower ranks always. And that works for twofold. One, because you're always going to hit the ball, and two, the other people are always going for boost. So 9 times out of 10, especially in kickoffs and stuff, you'll find the other person driving off for boost and you're in front of goal with the ball. So it's a way to do it, it's a way to think about it, something to think about. Ball over boost as much as humanly possible. And in relation to boost, my last tip is boost management. When you go up in the air or when you're boosting around, you don't need to boost all over the pitch all the time, yeah? So being left with a little bit of boost, it's not so much relevant in ones because there's plenty of boost all over the place, but in twos, if you get another team that are boost starving from you, you're going to struggle unless you can learn to manage your boost. So just hold back a bit on the boost. If you're just driving from here to the midway, you don't need to boost there. You can drive slow, you can drive backwards, you can drive whatever you want. Just make sure that you're thinking actively about your boost in general and that you're going to keep a little bit back in case you need it. You'll like it when you go up for kind of aerials or any of that kind of stuff later on, and that boost management will carry over great into the champ leagues and beyond. So those are my few tips on how to move yourself from plat, gold, bronze, silver up in the ranks in specifically twos. They're very limited. I'm not giving you tons of things to do. I'm just saying these are the things, and it's so that when somebody asks me on stream or that, I can point them towards this video to help them get up to champ 1 in twos. If you have any other things you want to add or anything you'd like me to cover in Rocket League or anything like that, then give me a shout. Remember, I'm live on TikTok at 9 PM each night if you want to come across and have a look. I try to get on when I can. If you want to come and watch, join in, do whatever. And yeah, if you haven't clicked that sub button yet, be massively appreciated if you would click that sub button and like, leave a comment, do what you need to do. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Yo. This is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Steven, and today I'm going to be looking at the iVolar 6-in-1 Steam Deck dock. I'm going to give you my thoughts, feelings on it, and whether I think it's a worthwhile alternative to the normal Steam Deck. Disclaimer, they sent me this for free. I get very little products for free because I'm not that high up on the YouTube ranks yet. I'm not even hit 3k subs yet. While there, if you do fancy clicking that sub button, it would help me massively. But yeah, so they sent me this for free with no sort of payment for it, or that is what it is. So I will tell you what I think of it and whether I like it or not. This is on the back of the Steam Deck review I did a little while ago and whether I think you should buy one. So if you are new here, don't forget to click that sub button, press like, leave a comment, do what you need to do. I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. So, as I said, iVolar reached out to me on the back of my Steam Deck video and asked me to have a look at this Steam Deck dock. I do not have one. I do know that the Steam Deck docks are about 80 quid, 80 beans. They have been on about 2-week back order for a little bit of time. They kind of go in and out of stock. So yeah, this seems like a worthwhile alternative. They reached out and says, will you have a look at it? I says, I will have a look at it on the premise that if it's shit, I'm going to tell you it's shit. So my apologies if that's the case. So they sent it out to me. I've taken a long time to get this review done, so I do really apologize for it. Christmas, illness, baby, blah, blah, blah. All of that got in the way, but we are now here. So if you're a Steam Deck user, a dock basically is an absolute must have. You kind of need one. If you want to punt it onto the TV, if you want to plug it in through internet, if you want to do all of those things, you kind of need a Steam Deck dock. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at the actual Steam Deck dock because I have not needed to. Since they sent me this one, I have used this one religiously, so I see no reason to get the other one. So I can't really do a comparison, apart from it does all the things I want it to do at a cheaper price. Know what I'm saying? So what is it? This is a 6-in-1 aluminium deck dock pro for your Steam Deck. It's made of high quality aluminum. It has a sleek silver modern design. The dock has 6 ports, including 3 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C port, a HDMI port. This means you can connect any peripheral you want to it by way of controllers, keyboards, mice, so on and so forth, as well as any kind of TV, monitor, all that type of thing that you can think of, as well as plugging it straight into Ethernet so that you're not bogged down by Wi-Fi. One of the best things about this is that it is plug and play. And I know in this day and age, majority of things are, but this literally is as simple as you put the dock in it, you put it in the top, you put your stuff in, and it just does it. I did have a little bit of an issue getting it connected to monitors where I had to kind of turn it off and turn it back on again and try a different port and blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, everything else was plug and play. All the controllers, peripherals, and so on and so forth went straight in and it banged straight on. And then I looked in a couple of forums and it basically said turn the monitor off, the Steam Deck all the way off, plug it in, turn it back on, and then yeah. But that was exactly the same as the Steam Deck dock, the actual Steam Deck dock that I have read online. So they do exactly the same thing. So some of the things take a little bit of tinkering, but hey, it sits really nicely in here. You can put it below your monitor, you can put it in front of your monitor, you can put it wherever you like. The only thing that I couldn't get to work, or that doesn't really happen, is that it's not like screen mirroring. I would have quite liked to see that, especially for streaming or any type of videos or anything like that. It would be nice to be able to use it as like a dual, but where I saw it, it was just reflected onto the monitor. So if anybody knows in the comments if these docks do that, then give me a shout because I'd like to know. But yeah, it plugs in and pumps it straight up to the screen. So I was playing things like played Need for Speed, played a few other things, played Elden Ring. Obviously I just use this expensive piece of kit for emulation most of the time, so that's what I use it for. Right? Build quality is really nice. Made of this kind of silver aluminum type thing with, it's got rubber on the bottom. It's got a rubber stand inside it for the Steam Deck to stay so it doesn't move anywhere. Not that it's going to move anywhere. However, does feel really, really nice. It's not cheap plastic like you would think for the price that you're getting. Normally, if I was paying something that had, you know, 3 USB ports, USB-C, HDMI, Ethernet, cable, blah, 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 I would think that it would be made of some type of cheap shit plastic, but it's not. It's made of metal, and I really do appreciate that. I would, however, really, really, really like a black version, obviously, because it's me. But the silver, can't go wrong with it. Looks alright, and It's kind of sleek and small, so it's going to fit in anywhere you put it anyway. It's also very, very lightweight and easy to transport, so it doesn't weigh anything. It's not going to take up any room in your bag. You can slip it into pocket, bag, wherever you want in case you're going to like hotel room or anything like that. But remember, you would need a small HDMI cable if you were going to do that and you wanted to do it in a hotel, which might not work, would it? One downfall of this is the actual Steam charger didn't seem to be enough power for this thing, so I was using a separate kind of laptop charger that I have for a Dell XPS 15 or whatever it is I was using, and that seemed to give it enough juice. But the actual charger for the Steam Deck does not punt enough power into this, so keep a small note of that. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't use it. It just does the slow charging thing, you know, like it does normally with the Steam Deck charger anyway. Now, people might see this as a downside or an upside, because, you know, 50 quid or less than 50 beans is maybe a little bit expensive, but I don't think it's expensive for what you're getting. And obviously it's 30 quid cheaper than the Steam Deck official one, Steam Deck Dock Official. I keep getting that wrong. Steam Deck Dock Official, and it doesn't take 2 weeks to get to you. So because it's Amazon, it's rapid. Like, I'll put a link to it down below. But yeah, because of that, it's quicker and you might not want to wait. And yeah, I think that's a plus, and with it being cheaper, that works for me as well. The HDMI port is also limited to 1080p. Don't know if that's a stickler for anybody. Obviously, the screen in the Steam Deck is small, and so you're punting up to a screen anyway, so it's going to look better, and the majority of us really are using it for emulation anyway. So, I mean, it might not be an issue for you. I think it looks fine, and I'm used to playing at 1080 anyway. I'm not one of the snobs that looks at 4K or that type of stuff anyway, so it doesn't make a difference to me. I love it, and we'll continue to punt it up onto a screen and play it that way with controller. As far as input lag with controller goes, there was a tiny bit, even on the controllers like the Victrix Gambit, which has no lag at all. Plugged that in and I could see a tiny bit of lag. Not enough for you to notice normally if you're playing, but in testing I could see that it had a small bit of lag. So it turned it from like a 0 millisecond controller up to like a few millisecond controller, which is not the end of the world, because you're probably not going to be playing competitive games on this. Maybe, I don't know if you are, but probably not, so that might not be too much of an issue for you. All in all, I think that this is a great little trinket instead of the Steam Deck dock if you want to save a little bit of money and you want to get it a little bit faster. As I say, they're not paying me for this. They did send me it for free and I do love it, but I would pay for it because I think it is pretty great. And I do like the look of it, and I'm a stickler for having that extra 30 quid to spend on someone else. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this if you're looking for a dock to pick up in general for your Steam Deck. Hawkeye, if you are looking for an alternative, I will leave a link to it below. I'll leave one affiliate link to it that gives me a little bit of commission, and I'll leave one, if you don't like me but you still want to buy it, I'll leave another link that is just straight to the product. So it's up to you which way you want to do it. I do not mind. I just think this is a good choice for a product if you're looking for a Steam Deck dock and you maybe came from my other video and you want to save a little bit of cash that way. If this did help you, don't forget to click that sub button, leave a like, leave a comment, do all the things you need to do. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Yeah. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So I made a little video about the best budget controller on the market a little while ago. The world's fastest licensed Xbox controller. The one thing in that video that I couldn't talk about, although I talked about all the things that were amazing, I couldn't comment on durability because I hadn't had it for long enough and there wasn't really enough reviews around at the time for me to be able to take stake from that either. I thought, given some new information that's come to light, that it wouldn't be fair to leave that other video up without at least putting a follow-up up to talk about, a follow-up on to talk about what I found out and my comments on the durability now that we have had it out for quite some time. For you today, I have some bad news followed by some good news, depending on your outlook on good news, I guess. If you're planning on getting one or you already have one, this might sway you or might make you make a different decision, depending on what you think about what I'm going to tell you. If you do stick around to the end of the video, however, I will give you my new best choice that has taken over this one, given these durability issues that we have come across. If this all sounds good and you would like to support a tiny wee creator, click that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, but means the world to me and helps me massively. Approaching 3,000 or something now, which is a massive number, which is absolutely amazing. So thanks so much if you are subscribed, and if not, click that sub button, helps me loads. Let's get to it. So, my good friend and biggest YouTube fan, DJ Luke Giras, sent me a little video of his brand new Victrix Gambit. Spoiler alert, the video wasn't telling me how amazing the controller was and how bulletproof it is. Here goes. So this is obviously less than ideal, and actually after some digging through reviews, not necessarily on Amazon because they seem to be, the bad ones seem to all be in different languages, but looking at reviews in all the different threads that I could find, this seems to be a common issue amongst many of the buttons and not just the triggers on the top. Now at the time in that video, I did say that the construction didn't feel that premium, but I did prefix that with the fact that that was the price and it was representative of the price that you were getting. The features and everything on it did outweigh the premium feel because you were getting some ridiculous things like the clutch trigger system, like the back buttons, so on and so so forth. So generally it was a pretty fantastic bit of kit. But like I say, I couldn't comment on the durability, unfortunately. And at that time I did say that it felt a little bit cheapish and slightly flimsy. So I think that's where this has come from, that the issues are coming that it's not made from amazing materials, and that's the kind of trade-off that you're paying, and it seems like you're paying it in durability. It's not all bad though, because I'll get into that a little bit later in the video, why it isn't all bad. However, that isn't a great start though. Like I said before, I did think that because of that unpremium feel and because of the kind of flimsy stuff, the features were enough to counterbalance that at the time for the price. I now kind of have to retract that statement of counterbalance that the features outweighed the flimsiness because of the durability issue. In this day and age, when loads of people are skint to the bone and struggling for cash and whatever else, it's kind of unreasonable to pay just shy of £100 for a controller like this and things like that to go wrong without a means to fix them. Also, a lot of the issues that I have reading are very early onset issues with, everybody talks about all the time with controllers, obviously stick drift. Fortunately, I don't have any on my particular controller, but you can see from the reviews all over the place that they all do, and obviously Luke did as well in his case. So I am afraid it's going to lose points on that. Now, the fact that these aren't Hall motion sticks, we have no opportunity for replacement modules, and no real solid fix in terms of DIY fixes that I've been able to find on YouTube for this particular controller, things are not looking great. I'm kind of annoyed about this because if you watch my other video, you'd see how goated I talked about this controller being with the features you were getting for the price. It really seemed like it was too good to be true, and maybe in this case, it potentially is. There wasn't really any downsides to it, apart from the fact it felt kind of cheap and the ghastly faceplates that you got, and there was no black option. Aside from that, there weren't really any downsides. What I do still hold hope for is the new Procon Victrix Gambit Pro controller, which is the one that's a way step up from this, and I do hold out hope for that because some of the features here were pretty awesome and the thing looks like it's an absolute tank. The thing is that thing seemed to appear and disappear in a matter of days, which is pretty confusing. So if anybody out there is able to get me one or has one or knows where I can get one from without pre-ordering for weeks of waiting, let me know in the comments. It has interchangeable thumbsticks as well, which is going to be a way to change out the modules. Obviously, you don't want to have to change them, but if you have to, you have the ability to. But the problem with this is it's the price almost of an Elite controller and of all the other things in the market, and I just don't know if it's going to have enough to stack up to its competition. Given what we know about this one, it's going to have to be an absolutely massive upgrade if it's planning to compete with them. But I do hold a lot of hope, so here's fingers crossed, because I did like this one so much until it decided to fuck up on people. Anyway, so the durability struggles. Where the good news comes in that I talked about before is that the customer service, in Luke's case and in a few other people's cases, seems to be absolutely, pardon me, fantastic. Unlike any of the competition elsewhere that just say, not my problem, sorry didn't mean it, it's broken, unfortunately that happens. I'm assuming somebody in the comments is going to tell me that they've had a bad experience, but that happens all the time. But from what I've seen and what I've read, the customer service is bang on, so from start to finish it's taken people a few days to get their cases resolved and a new one sent out. Luke, the guy that sent me this video as well, he seemed to get his resolved within 7 days, which is very fast for a controller company to send out a replacement. Usually companies will just say, it's your fault, you broke it, but in this case they've said, no, absolutely, we take responsibility and send it on, which gives me great hope for the future for this company, because if they're paying that much attention to people, then maybe they will fix the things that go wrong with the controller. So with all that in mind, like I said at the start, what do I suggest as a replacement for this? The PowerA Fusion 2 Pro controller. Much cheaper, amazing quality feeling controller, very much less issues all over the place. That is my pick for it. If you want to see me do a full breakdown of that, I'm going to film that soon. Click the subscribe button, press like, tell me what you think, and I will be releasing that relatively soon once I have it all filmed for you. So anyway, this was quite a short video just to run through a retraction of that video, I guess. If you have any thoughts, comments, or feelings on it, don't forget to leave a comment down below, and I will have a chat with you there. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Stephen, and finally, I'm here to take a look at the Steam Deck. I'm here to tell you whether I think it's worth us average Joes saving up our hard-earned cash to pay for one. I don't make a lot of money, and I certainly don't make a lot from YouTube, so investing in something like this was a huge big step for me, and I felt like I owed it to use for somebody who's not shilling it, who's not getting paid to review it or anything like that, not getting it for free, to give a rundown on it and say whether I think it's worth you saving up your money and spending on it. Saving up all that cash to spend on something like this is a big moment, right? If you saved up sort of 500, 600 quid to spend on a handheld device, that can be quite a lot of money, and it is for me, so therefore I feel like I want to tell you all the things about it, what you get with it, and whether it is worth paying for. Anyone outside of the world that we're in may just think that this is just a glorified Game Boy, however it is so much more than that, and that's what I'll be going over. Now, I've had a lot of time to play with this, and I thought this would be the perfect time for me to come on and give an unbiased view on the thing, given that I'm not shilling it, I'm not trying to sell it to you, I don't have a discount code for you, I don't have any of that stuff, I'm just giving you my view of what I think on it. This is the perfect time because you can now buy them from the Valve website directly. Before you had to wait a couple of weeks weeks pre-order. They were doing them in big batches, but now you can actually just order them straight away. And Valve are saying they're shipping them within 2 weeks, which is fantastic now. I was one of the ones that had these on pre-order originally when they weren't available, so I have had this for quite a long time now. But like I say, you can pick them up pretty quickly now. I didn't want to put a review up then when they weren't readily available. It just felt a little bit shit saying, look at this amazing piece of kit, but you can't get one unless you wait X amount of weeks. So now you can get one straight away. I feel a bit better doing this. It just meant that I got quite a bit longer time to play with it and to give a better review on the thing anyway. Now I know it's a chore, seems like a bit of a faff, but if you do enjoy my content and would like to support a tiny little creator for free, click that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. Anyway, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. I'm gonna guess by now you've seen the Steam Deck, and that's probably why you're here. Maybe you're thinking of getting one, maybe you already have one, maybe you've ordered one, you're wondering if you've made the right investment. The bulk of my reviews and content is like controllers and stuff. This is kind of a controller, I suppose. I've looked at a lot of gaming tech, so I suppose it puts me in an alright place to be able to give you a decent review. Anyway, irrespective of what goes on the channel, I'm well versed enough to give you an unbiased view on whether I think it's worth it or not. All the reviews I've looked at were people that were either sponsored by Valve, shelled through the teeth, been asked to give a review on them and all that kind of stuff, whereas I thought it was worth it just to give something from somebody who saved up for a while for it, and yeah, I don't have anything to gain or a kickback for you going and buying one. So yeah, here you go. Right, cards on the table right for the start. The Valve Steam Deck is essentially the best handheld ever made. Ever. It's absolutely pointless to compare it to a Nintendo Switch or the PS Vita. It's in its own league altogether. It doesn't even come close to those two. Those other two are so far away from this that it would even be fair to compare them to this type of handheld. So this is arguably the best handheld that has ever been made in general. The most powerful, the best, all over. It's mind-boggling to just take yourself back a few years when you're looking at things like the PS Vita and think that you'd be playing full Steam games at 30, 60 FPS on a handheld thing. That is wild. Mind-boggling. That being said, you still can't play every game in your Steam library, so maybe there is still a ways to go with the thing with firmware updates, but that may happen over time. Despite not being able to play some games, this thing does more than enough across the board to justify you getting it. And I mean, the only thing, the battery life, well, we'll get to that anyway, but depending on your expectations, is not absolutely fantastic. But even as it stands with no changes, as it stands at the moment as a piece of kit, this thing is an absolute masterpiece, in my humble opinion. So the first thing we're going to talk about is price and availability. As I said before, you can now order these straight from the Valve website, and it says that they have a 2-week turnaround to get delivered to you. If that is true, I can now call it a readily available device, should you have the money sitting around to buy one. It certainly hasn't been a readily available device for the last little while, given all the pre-order stuff and what they did with it, which was quite cool. It made their need for it. What's the word? Something, demand, need, want, demand, whatever. So the Valve Steam Deck has 3 different options. These are basically exactly the same, apart from the memory that they have, and the most expensive one comes with some anti-glare glass screen on it, and that's about it. It starts at $399 or 360 quid, give or take some changes in the currency exchange rate. For the 64GB one, I've got the 256GB one, which was 460 quid or $530. Then there's the 512GB version, which comes with the extra display thingy for $649 or a lot of pounds. All versions come with a Van Gogh APU. An APU is basically a CPU and a GPU rolled into one to be a space saver for a small handheld device like this one, as you couldn't fit massive big 4090 into something like this or a full chip or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, APU is them rolled into one. And they all have 16GB of RAM. They all come with this black case that has the Steam Deck logo on the top, which is actually a really nice case. It is a nice case overall. Reminds me of the DJI cases for the drones. Irrelevant, but yeah, that's what it does. So an overview in general. This is one of, if not the largest handheld ever released. She is thick. It's 11.73 by 4.6 by 1.93 inches. For some perspective, look at this next to my head. This is my size 12 croc. Wild. It weighs in at almost 0.7 of a kilo or 1.5 pounds, but actually with some sort of physics-defying technology, Valve have managed to make it feel, well, not that heavy. There's absolutely no doubt that the build quality on this makes it feel and look ridiculously premium, which you should hope given the price that you're paying for this thing. I'm very happy that it comes this way, with its thick flat center and contoured hand grips. There's an analog stick and a trackpad on each side, along with a D-pad on the left and the X, Y, A and B buttons on the right. The view and menu buttons work as select and pause in game, and the Steam and quick access buttons let you access the SteamOS. Up top between the shoulder buttons, we've got volume buttons, a 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port and a power button. There are also 4 fully programmable back buttons on the back that act kind of like paddles on a controller, and a mini SD card reader on the bottom. There's also a speaker on the bottom of each side and some nice hefty air vents up top. The design isn't a ridiculous far cry from other handhelds that have been seen in the past. It is, as I said before, just a lot bigger. It does have a unique look to it while keeping all the standard features you would expect from a handheld like this. Overall, it just looks nice, doesn't it? The weight distribution across it actually makes it really nice to play with for extended periods of time. It doesn't hurt your hands, it doesn't get ridiculous, it's not heavy, you don't have to lean it against something or put it in anything at all. It is a lovely little bit of kit to play on if you opt against playing with a controller, which I assume most of you will I prefer to play with a controller. As you see, my whole channel is addicted to controllers, but if this is what you choose to play with and you want to play with the controls on this, it is very, very nice to play with. Giggity. The screen. So it's got a sharp 7-inch LCD touchscreen. The massive bezels around it do take up quite a lot of room on the screen though. Only other thing I've been reading, a lot of people have some issues with reading the small text in a lot of games. It's not been an issue for me, and most games do have the ability to be able to increase the text size. Maybe it's just the games that I play, but I've never really had an issue with it. Every game you play on this does look amazing on the 1280 by 720 screen at a 16:10 aspect ratio. Loads of current games do actually have a 16:9 ratio though, which means that you may lose a teensy weensy bit at the top and bottom of the game depending on what you're playing, but it's definitely not enough to be noticeable anywhere at all. You will not notice, promise. It's rated at 400 nits brightness in the tech specs, but I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. If you're indoors, it's totally sound. I was sitting on the train playing it, the sun was beaming in the window, and I was finding it really hard to play Elden Ring on, which makes me think I'm not sure how viable it would be outside. I can't speak to how well the most expensive model with the anti-glare screen works better than that, but this one is probably not going to work too much outside. Doesn't make a difference to me. I live in Scotland where I can't go outside for more than one day of the year, so I'll always be inside. However, it might matter to you, so it's something maybe worth thinking about. Performance. So this can run most compatible games at around 30 frames per second on high settings, for the most part. Obviously it kind of compete with some of the gaming laptops or gaming PCs, but it's enough to play many decent games at decent frame rates, especially if they're optimized for SteamOS. There are loads of benchmark tests all over YouTube and Google if you want to look for specific tech specs. I'm not that guy. I just run a game and look at what the frames run like and talk about how it plays. So that's what I've done for you today. I've just went over my experiences with a few of the games so that you can see how they ran and what they topped out at, etc. I don't have any of the normal testing gear or the trinkets to boost FPS or any of that. I'm just a normal person that just plays the game and looks at what the frames say. So Elden Ring on medium settings for me pulled a consistent 40 frames, and high settings pulled another relatively consistent 30 frames. Any higher quality and the drops were kind of noticeable. Although what I will say is, for me, on the tiny screen at the smaller resolutions, I didn't notice a difference because it makes it look amazing. Maybe that's just for me, but if you're putting it to a big screen, you might notice a difference. But yeah, if you're playing it on the small screen, the lower quality is kind of subsidized by the size of the screen. I could be making that up, but it just looks just as good on the small screen. Doom Eternal is one that has the Steam Deck optimized mode, which optimizes the game for handheld. This wildly ran at 60 frames across all quality settings, which was, I don't know what type of wizardry goes on there to make that happen. But I mean, we know that it's an extremely well optimized game in the first place, so maybe that helps. What this does do is this gives me massive hope for all the games in the future, that if they can be optimized that well, that this opens the floodgates to all the games running that well. Getting games up to 120 frames, who knows? The last one was Valheim, and this on medium settings pulled a consistent 60 frames across the board, and it looks pretty good, but the text was sometimes a bit hard to read. That was the only one for me where I had a small issue with the text, because it was just kind of funky. But I thought sometimes it was hard to read the text in Valheim on a big monitor anyway, so it's what it is. And high settings was around 40 frames, which is nothing to be sniffed at either. Gameplay. So everything I've said there before on the performance stuff, the gameplay, irrespective of what all that says, is unbelievable. It's class. It's so nice to play on. Everything's smooth as butter. Even no matter what the frames are doing, it just feels class. And it's so weird to play these types of games on such a small screen and handheld. It's just crazy. Modern titles just play exactly as you would expect them to, and it's just a whole new gaming experience for you to play on. It's just good not being buckled into a desk or to a big monitor or any of that kind of stuff. Just being able to sit on the couch, sit in bed, do whatever you want to do and play that way. However, what I am going to say is I'm going to guess that you will do, if you've bought one or have done if you already have one, the same thing I did, which is buy an ultra high spec current gaming handheld console to play 20-year-old games on. If that is the case, you're in luck. There's a ton of emulators that work amazingly well, so if you want a top spec Game Boy, GameCube, DS, this will fit it fantastically. Retro game fans will love playing old games on this, guaranteed. The software. SteamOS 3.0 functions just as well as it does on a desktop. This uses a modified version of the Steam desktop client rather than making its own one for handheld, so aye, it's class, it works very, very well. If you've used Steam in any capacity before, you'll be absolutely sound here. Easy to navigate through, smooth as butter. The controls, what can I say about this? It has nice responsive and clicky buttons, has very, very smart button placement. Wherever you want to touch the buttons, they're bang on. You can configure every button on the thing within it to make it do whatever you want. The touch control responsiveness on the screen isn't too great. That could be worked on. The back buttons, I'm not too impressed by the back buttons. I'm hoping there's something to fix this, an attachment or something, but they take a lot of pressing. They're very hard to press, which is good if you don't want to press them by accident, but they do take a ton of pressing, so they're not very quick. But comfort-wise, it's an absolute joy to play on for long periods of time with the button placement, how hard the buttons are to press, all that kind of stuff. It's an absolute joy to play on. The controller grips either side of it feel amazing to hold as well. They're no too thick, no too thin, no too flimsy, no too bulky. The analog sticks are pretty loose and they're easy to reach reach with both your thumbs. The shoulder buttons give good resistance to play with, and they give a nice little click when you press them. The controls on this, to be honest, are just as good as any normal modern controller through USB, or you can go through Bluetooth. Whatever you choose to do, I like to play on a controller. That's just how I am, because I have 15 controllers that I can choose from anyway. But if you do choose to use the controller to play on, it's fantastic. The game library. So there's more than 2,000 verified games that I will leave a link to below, that you can see the full list of games if you want to go look on, that are actually verified on the Steam Deck. These include games like Elden Ring, Spider-Man Remastered, so on and so forth. There's currently 4 compatibility categories that exist for all games that Steam have like pigeonholed them into, Valve have pigeonholed them into. One is verified titles, which will play as you would expect. Then you've got playable titles, which may require some community controller inputs, or may require some assistance in the back end, or you to install some software to help you play. Unsupported titles, which is basically most VR games, and there's a few other ones just now that don't work as well. And then a catch-all of unknown, which is might be alright, might not. A lot of your indie titles will fall into here. They're just a case of you try them and they may work and they may not. Like I say, I'll link a full list of the compatible games in the description below if you want to go look at that. But I'd say that it's important to remember that as this is out for longer, there's some very smart folks in the background in forums and all that kind of stuff that are coming up with ways to play these games in every way, shape and form. So if you give it a bit of time, I'm sure any of your favourite titles will be soon available to play in some capacity. Last one, battery life and heat. Since the Steam Deck is capable of running ridiculously graphically intensive games, like Elden Ring for example, Dark Souls, all that kind of stuff, it's no surprise that it can run pretty hot. Tests revealed that the underside near the vents reached nearly 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and the entire underside gets as hot as 90 degrees. The screen also 90 degrees. Thankfully it never gets too warm because your hands are so far away that you will never notice the actual warmth, but in the middle it's very, very warm. Just on the outsides when you're playing you don't notice it. However, if you're setting it on your lap with that, you will notice it because it is fucking warm. As far as battery life, for me in all cases it lasts around about 4 hours no matter what I'm playing. Sometimes it'll be a little bit longer if it's something that's less graphically intense, or it'll be a little bit less if it's something that is a bit more so. So there's not a massive swing, somewhere about 4 hours. I would have liked to see this quite a bit longer. Maybe there will be battery extensions. You can plug it in while you're playing. That's why they put the thing at the top so you can plug in at the same time, which I feel was a nice touch. So yeah, you can play it while it's charging at the same time. Oh, all that was a lot of rambling. I basically told you all about it with some of my views in between, but here's my verdict. Should you get one? Yes, 100%. If you have the cash, go for it. If you don't have the cash, save up and buy one if handhelds are your thing and you want something a little bit different out the box to play with. So if you're a Steam user who wants to take their games on the road, or if you're someone who wants a beefier handheld than the Switch, capable of much, 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 much more, then you can't go wrong with this. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to click that sub button below, click like, leave a comment, do what you need to do, tell me what you think of the Steam Deck. If you've got one, ordered one, thinking about getting one, any questions, just let me know. And thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Now then, so I just did a review on the Elite Series 2, and it got me thinking. With the release of the new Call of Duty 2, Warzone 2, Modern Warfare 2, I don't know, it's confusing. There was already Modern Warfare 2, now there's another Modern Warfare 2, fuck knows. However, with the release of the new Call of Duty coming out, I was thinking, how can all of us dog poo KD players
know your fucking place, trash,
give ourselves the best advantage in the game with the piece we play with in our hands? Definitely could have phrased that better. With a peripheral that we use to play the game. That's better. If you're new here, hit that sub button to support a tiny creator, help me keep making content, buying stuff to review, so on and so forth. Press the sub button, helps me massively. You could also be my first channel member. I don't have any of those yet, although YouTube gave me the ability to be able to start that, so that'd be nice. I would imagine when this game releases, I will be doing customs with subscribers and stuff, so yeah, if you do want to play with me or whatever. What is wrong with me today? If you do want to play along with me, then yeah, join up as a member, do all the stuff. Let's go. So yes, I am a small creator who reviews controllers mostly, and other types of gaming tech. Fucking dogs. I packed in Caldera quite a long time ago because, let's be honest, it was absolute guff, but I was a die-hard Verdansk player, just like the majority of you probably were, and played a bit of Rebirth, and then after that, yeah, Caldera just lost its pizzazz. It was never a patch on Verdansk, but I do have high hopes for the new map Al Mazrah, which should be coming out by the end of the year. That means I will, at least for a while, be making a return to the new Call of Duty and Warzone when it graces our screen. I've got 3 options for you. I have a low budget option, medium budget option, and a top tier option, depending on which one fits your budget and the requirements that you have as a gamer. These 2 options are the ones that I think will give you the best option to improve your dogshit KD if you've been stuck on it for quite a long time, like me. A great way to help that KD is just to upgrade your controller, and obviously having a new controller is an amazing thing to have, and I think that everybody should get away from stock controllers and move into the quote-unquote pro controller world, or customized above average, so on and so forth. What I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about the ones you shouldn't pick, because then the video would just be ridiculous. I'm just going to talk about the 3 that I think you should get. There's a couple that I might touch on, but not too much detail, like V2 Chroma and so on. However, this will just mostly be these 3 options that I think if you've not got very much money, you've got a middle amount of money, and you've got as much money as you can spend, these are the 3 options that I think will help you as a gamer in the new Call of Duty. Goes without saying, if you're still playing the old one, these will also assist you and you're just looking to move in to be a better person on this general game. All of these options will assist you. Just know that although I'm not talking about the ones that I haven't picked, I've taken probably roughly 15 controllers into consideration that I've reviewed all over the channel if you want to go and have a look at any of them. But these are based on price, against features, against durability, against user friendliness, and so on. I'm a PC player, but I also prefer Xbox over PS, so these are my options for PC and Xbox specifically. If you're on a PlayStation, buy an Xbox. Even better, buy a PC. So quote unquote, option 1, budget. I use quote unquote because you're still paying quite a bit of money depending on how your circumstances are, whether this is cheap for you, not budget, so on. But it's the cheapest of the decent pro controllers, to be honest. Option number 1, PowerA Fusion Pro 2. In my opinion, this is the most solid budget pro controller that you can buy anywhere. I probably wouldn't have said that at its older price point when the PowerA Fusion Pro 1 and 2 were both out, but now that the 1 disappeared, the 2 has come down in price, so you can pick it up for about 60 quid. For that price, you're getting 4 customizable back paddles, which feel pretty good weighty controller, a bloody lovely case, rubber grips, 3-way trigger stops that aren't too fantastic, extra sticks, a white faceplate, and a generally good view around durability in most cases. The downsides are, I guess, that it doesn't feel fantastic and premium in the hands, to be honest. The rumble vibration makes it feel like Godzilla's walking outside your house and there's water splashing all over the joint. The back paddle position could be better. It's not the most ergonomically friendly in the world, but probably still better than the Razor Wolverine ones. And the D-pad is only 4-directional rather than multi-directional like on the other controllers, like the standard Xbox controller that has the disc and the standard Series X controller that has the disc, and obviously the Elite as well. But all in all, it's a solid step up from a standard controller, and it's basically just like a cheap version of the Elite Series 2. So it's an amazing choice if you are looking to just upgrade into the world of pro controls to start off with. And to be honest, you could probably enjoy it that much that you'd never really need to upgrade again if that was your only upgrade. If you see what I mean, apart from when it breaks. The next is your medium budget one, which I will pop up in the my top left, your top right of the screen. The review I just did in quite a lot of detail. This is the Victrix Gambit. This is arguably my favourite value for money controller on the market at the moment, as you'll see me praise it in that video quite a lot. You can find this from anywhere between 80 to 100 quid. It floats around that price point. And obviously Black Friday coming up, like I keep mentioning. Even better, you might can find it for an absolute steal. But for that price, stupid quality. For your money here, you're getting 4 lovely customizable back buttons, an unnecessary amount of customization options for sticks and faceplates and blah blah blah. It is a pretty great feeling pad in general. To play on specifically, I don't mean feeling as in materials, but yeah, to play on it is really nice. A multi-directional D-pad, ugly changeable faceplate, the closest to 0 millisecond response time that you'll find anywhere without overclocking, Dolby Atmos surround sound right with the controller, the clutch trigger system with loads and loads of hair trigger points, an unnecessary amount of hair trigger points, but more than 3 like the majority of the other ones that have this system, and my favourite native app to make changes in. There's no doubt the look of this is not subtle in any way, but the durability, even if it doesn't feel like it, is amazing. Even from what everybody says online, even the haters as well as myself using it and everybody else, this thing stacks up. It's good. I don't know what they've made it of and I don't know how they've managed it, but yeah, it seems to be pretty damn decent. The cons. So again, although it feels nice in the hands, it doesn't feel massively premium. It's not hugely weighty in general. It's got a bit of weight to it, but it's not massively weighty, and the materials aren't fantastic. So yeah, but you are not paying a ridiculously premium price for it, so you can't really expect that much from it. It has built-in dead zones, which really might be a decider for you. You can't change the dead zones apart from in the games like COD sometimes where you can change it. It depends on what they do with the new one, but yeah, it's not ridiculously amazing that you can't change that. That might be a decider for you. That can be helped with a couple of little foamy precision rings though. If you chuck them on, that might help you with your dead zone issues. The grips feel a little bit plasticky, and the buttons aren't very tactile, so they are very kind of squishy buttons. But again, you're getting what you pay for. This is easily the best choice for an all-rounder that's above budget but down below premium, right in the middle. This is easily the one that I would recommend to anybody that was saying, I've been on shit controllers forever, I want my very first stab at it and I don't have a huge amount of cash. This is the one I'd put in every single time. It's an absolute banger for the price point. So lastly, and at the top more expensive end, the one I'm going to put here is the Elite Series 2, which takes the best kind of top end controller that you can buy that's going to improve your KD and make you better at Warzone in general. Now for the sake of paddle placement, I would have loved to have given this to the V2 Chroma because of how much I love that controller. I'll pop that review up here as well, but it's just that where the buttons live on that, I can't arguably say that it would be the best for COD and Warzone. It could be for you, but specifically for me, I just can't see it. I can't see it stacking up the same. Not as good as where the placement is on the Elite Series 2. It's just so much more ergonomically friendly and will give you that competitive advantage all the time for sure. So it's still down at 140 quid, which is only 40 pounds more than the typical price of the Victrix Gambit, so it is worth a punt for sure, and with Black Friday coming up it's going to be even cheaper. And for that price you're getting arguably the nicest looking controller on the market, the nicest feeling controller on the market. It's as premium as they come, amazing triggers, top-notch paddles, loads of extras, case, charge through case, tension and key, so on and so forth. You're getting so much for your money. And if you're wanting the best chance to rectify your dog water aiming, movement skill, speed, so on and so forth, this is the tool that's going to get it for you, and it's going to give you the best chance of improving your terrible bot self at this game, even by a bit. Worth it. I'll leave all the links to these controllers in the description below if you do want to go purchase one, or just open up a discussion in the comments of what you think of any of these controllers, whether you think there's one I've missed off, anything like that, just let me know. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Steven, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Xbox Elite Series 2. You might be asking, why am I looking at this 3 years later? Well, I think I've not looked at it before on the channel, which is pretty fucking wild, and it's useful to see how it still stacks up with the rest of the controllers that are on the market just now. I'm not going to do my usual rundown of all of the specs and what comes with it and stuff, because there's a billion of those all over YouTube. This is just kind of my thoughts on it. I'm going to say how it's held up and whether I think it's still one of the viable options for the price that you can get it for at the moment. Stay tuned to the end of the video for the chat that you're really bothered about, which is durability and how it has held up over the last few years given the price of it. My opinion matters to quite a lot of people on here because I've obviously reviewed a shed ton of controllers all over the channel. So not only is it my view on it, but it's also your chance in the comments to ask, is there someone that does it better? Is there someone for the price point that's better? Blah, 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 blah. Click subscribe if you're new, click like if you do enjoy my content to support a tiny, tiny wee creator, and hopefully you do enjoy my shit. Anyway, I'll stop rambling, let's go. As always in classic fashion, there it is, the Elite Series 2. Woo! Amazon, 142 quid. Microsoft site, 142 quid, which at current conversion is $160. With Black Friday coming up and the absolute nonsense of a core release not too long ago, I think we could be in for some pretty sexy discounts on the upcoming Black Friday. I expect it probably even to hit the lowest it's ever been, which is obviously me just guessing. However, all of the things falling into place makes kind of sense. Now let's be fair, this was released 3 years ago, end of 2019. It's been out for a very, very long time, and there's been a shed ton of controllers released since then, custom controllers, pro controllers, stuff with all of these features and so on and so forth. If we're talking about the number one thing here on look, none of the ones that have been released since then, in my opinion, even come close to the way that this looks. I understand that's subjective and maybe it's my inner goth talking, I have no idea, but come on, look at it. The matte rubber finish and the look all over just gives it something that has been unmatched by everybody else. Fair enough on some of the pro ones, you can change the colour of the buttons, you can change the colour, blah 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 blah, but none of them look quite like this, especially if you're an Xbox old generation junkie like me. It's just a finish and a look that's going to take a lot of beating, and in my opinion nobody has beaten it yet. As far as feel goes, very few, if any, controllers come even close to the premium feel of this one. Still, even to this day, even after all the expensive ones that I've went through, Hex, Scuff, etc, etc, etc. Not only feel, but this thing's weighty enough to feel like it might do as much damage as a buffed Infernal Crozier if From Software decided they wanted to use it in their arsenal of weapons. The sweat protection material also slaps. If you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm the sweatiest guy on the planet, especially considering how much of a bot I am at all the games that I play. I shouldn't be sweating that much. However, it happens, and this rectifies the situation quite greatly. As far as features go, it has them all. I'm not doing a rundown of them, I'm just giving you roughly what it does and you know, the things that it has in it. But features wise, obviously it's got everything that you would expect from a pro controller, except my favourite buttons, which are these inside of the triggers. You will find them on some of the Razer lineup, and yeah, they can come in clutch depending on their playstyle. So yeah, as far as feel goes, even compared to some of its very expensive counterparts, this thing is the most premium feeling controller I have ever laid me hands on, me grubby little sweaty mitts. So, all of that aside, we know that the whole thing bangs. How does it hold up over time? We know things to do with stick drift, things to do with button placement, and so on and so forth. Those are now becoming the main reason why people are buying a specific controller, things like Scuff, things like Hex, things like modded controllers, whatever, all that kind of stuff. It comes down to durability, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it into two bits. I'll give you my experience of this specific controller and how it's held up and the stuff that I've come across and haven't come across, then what everyone else says, and then it will let you make your decision based on that if you are going to shell out this amount of money for a controller. Because we have 3 years now of Reddit threads and people talking about their issues with it, we have a pretty large amount of data to find out the issues that have went wrong. So on this, on the right stick, teensy weensy bit of stick drift. Not enough to even be noticeable unless you're farming AFK in a game or something, you might notice it moving slightly, but that's kind of it. No other stick drift on the other parts. I've tested it to within an inch of its life. Fine, no stick drift. Well, I say none, but tiny little. Your average Joe player is not going to notice that even remotely. And like everyone else, which seems to be a common issue, is a slightly sticky A button that just is a little bit sticky. The throw is a little bit less than it was when it was first purchased. That's absolutely nothing like the sticky button syndrome on the Razor Wolverine Ultimate. Piece of dog shit. And the fact that it developed non-existent travel in 6 minutes of playtime or whatever it was. But yeah, nothing like that, just a tiny little bit. You can feel it. It's not like it was when it was new, but it's been played with for a few years, so why would it be? For me, nothing else to note. No returns, no nothing. Totally fine. Those are the two things with a controller for that amount of time, however many years you would expect some slight issues, or I would personally, and that is all I've come across. Now everyone else, a little less fortunate and probably a little bit louder than me on the problems. Let's be clear, right? So if you have 100 people that buy the controller, 50 have a great experience and 50 have a bad experience for whatever reason. Of the 50 that have the good experience, you might hear from on the internet maybe like 4. But the people that have the bad experience, you might hear from 40. Okay, so therefore you've heard from 45 people, 5 are good and 40 are bad. That doesn't mean by any stretch that it is bad. It's just that when people have issues, they're much more likely to be loud. When you're spending this amount of money on a controller, you just expect it to be fantastic. And if it is, nothing to report. You paid a ton of money for it, so therefore it worked well and you do not need to report it to anybody, apart from people like me that want to tell people that they had a good or bad experience in general. But just, I guess the point I'm making is don't take everything you read online as gospel, because it gets quite a bashing, and mine has had very little wrong with it, along with hundreds of other people, thousands, millions, whatever you want to call it, that have had a perfectly great experience with this controller because it is built like an absolute tank. So, issues other people had. The sticky button issue that I mentioned, this seems to be in all the threads. Some people as far as it won't work, down to the same as me where you can just kind of feel it. Stick drift seems to be pretty common. The stick's feeling loose, the trigger stops failing a little bit, and a very uncommon one is just complete failure. If you are a tinkerer though, these have been around for a long enough time now where there's a lot of really smarter YouTubers than myself, making videos on how to fix basically 99% of the issues by taking it apart and tinkering. Best case, you fix it and you have a fixed controller. Worst case, it's the same as it was before. In most cases. So yeah, there are ways to fix these things if you are a tinkerer, if you want to give that a shot. Just go on YouTube, any issue that you have with your controller, and there's usually somebody there telling you how to fix it or a way that they've managed to fix theirs in that way. So having been around for quite a long time, that is quite a positive to that. If there is an issue with it and you really want to fix it rather than buy another one, you can do that. So, my take on the Elite Series 2. I guess the two reasons for this was, one, just to give you my view after quite a long time, and also to open up the comments if you're thinking about buying it, if you want me to recommend it over another controller or so on and so forth, then do that. The short of it, this thing bangs hard. It'll take a very long while for Xbox to beat it, I imagine. They had the pathetic excuse of the core controller that they just released, which I'm not even going to pass comment on because it's basically just the same but without the parts. I don't understand, whatever. But yeah, Razer are only just now starting to catch up to it with the V2 Chroma and so on, so it's taken them quite a while to catch up, so I'll be expecting big things from Xbox when the V3 does come along. It will be interesting to see what the PS5 DualSense controller looks like. I've done a little review, I'll put that up here, of my findings from the release trailer and what I think will be, what the price will be, whether I think it'll be worth looking at, and whether we're excited for it. But it'll be interesting to see what they do, given what Xbox have managed so far. I would imagine that the DualSense will come out and then Xbox will do the V3 with some upgrades and it'll be, streets ahead of the DualSense controller. It's just my guess anyway. Let me know what you think down below. If you have one, if you're thinking about getting one, if you want me to compare it to something else, so on and so forth, give me a shout. But be sure to subscribe if you do enjoy my content, leave a like, leave a comment, do what you need to do. Thanks so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Steven. Today I'm going to be looking at the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma versus the Razer Wolverine V2. I just done a big review of the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma, you can watch that here. And the last comparison video I did between the Ultimate and the V2 did pretty well, so I thought that I'd put this up here and just tell you whether spending that little bit of extra money is worth it if you're going to get the Chroma over the normal V2. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe if you do enjoy my content, leave a like, leave a comment, do what you need to do, and I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. So, as mentioned, I will be looking at the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma, which is this bad boy here, and its older, less able sibling, the Razer Wolverine V2. So the Razer Wolverine V2 was supposed to be a bit of an upgrade from the Razer Wolverine Ultimate. I'm not even going to bother linking that video. If any of you have been here for a while, you'll know the issues that I had with the Razer Wolverine Ultimate and how the durability of it just fell to pieces, and everybody slated me and said that that was my fault and blah blah blah. However, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of discussing that controller anymore. If you want to buy it, go buy it, find someone else that reviews it and shills it, because that is not me. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give each of them a point based on a few categories. We're going to go at look, the features that it has, durability, the feel of it, and the price for the features, and we'll see if we have a clear winner to say whether it is worth paying the extra. Just as a note, depending on where you look, the price history bobbles about. There tends to be roughly, on average, about £40 difference between these controllers, so hopefully if you've been thinking about getting one or the other, or you're just interested in this type of content, then this might help push you towards one or the other, depending on whether you think that extra 40 quid might be worth it for what you get in the controller. So talking about the look first. When I did the Ultimate comparison last time, this video makes me very happy, by the way, because these are two controllers that would smoke the water with the Ultimate, and last time I gave the Ultimate points on look because of the RGB, but now obviously the V2 Chroma, clues in the name, you can change the RGB on the Chroma. These two look very similar to each other, so they're similar in shape. Kind of only real difference is, of course, on the V2 Chroma, you get all the back paddles. Yay! So you've got all four of them, and not just two, you have four. You also have the two top buttons inside the triggers, which, yes, they both look pretty sleek. Been over them, they look nice. They're pretty sexy looking controllers, similar grooves, similar kind of look. Obviously it just looks like they've added the Chroma and a little bit extra to the original V2. We've discussed it, it's a little bit smaller than the standard Xbox controller, feels really nice in the hands, but yeah, as far as the look goes, if I had to give it to one or the other, because they look very, very similar, I'd have to give it to the V2 Chroma, just because it does have RGB that you can change the colour of as you please, and so it can suit your desk setup. It is only a tiny little strip of RGB, but yeah, on look, because they look the same apart from the RGB, point goes to the V2 Chroma. Talking about features, the features are relatively similar between them. Of course, these are both wired controllers. They both have the tactile feeling buttons, two sticks in the same place, D-pad, they have the hair stop triggers, they also have the buttons inside the top triggers. The biggest difference here, which is kind of, for most people, is what makes a pro controller or not, is the 4 back triggers on the back. So if that is a big game changer for you, it's basically what you're paying for as far as features go. Taking away the RGB, you're paying for those back paddles, because everything else is basically the same. You have the hair stop triggers here, which you change this button and it changes the throw of this here. You've got nice grips, the tactile buttons, all that stuff, but again, they are both wired. They do both feel the same, just one has RGB and some extra 4 buttons. So, I mean, as far as that one goes, it's going to go to the V2 Chroma as well. So we're now 2-0 V2 Chroma, and is what it is. Small tiny segue, I'm trying to get these even shorter. I'm still on my road to 2,000 subs. Costs you nothing to press the sub button. Turn your phone, press the sub button, click off the browser, press the sub button. Takes 2 seconds, helps me massively. Road to 2K, let's go. Now on feel, these both do feel pretty good. This is going to be a controversial one. I prefer, as far as feel goes, using the original V2. For me, that's because I don't really use the back paddles too much for that many games. So in this one, I'd kind of have to give it to the original V2 because there's less for my hands to have to touch. It's a nice weighty controller. Yeah, that is going to be very, very subjective, but I'm going to give it to the V2 on feel, just because in general, if it's a casual thing you're looking for, just with a few extra upgrades, then that V2 original is the one to go for. But if you need the paddles, you need the paddles. I'm not going to say they're not comfortable, because they are comfortable. I just don't really like that placement for paddles on the back. I'm not going to say I prefer the scuff, because you know how much I hate scuff, but I prefer them to be inside. So like the Raiju, hold. See how they sit on the inside here? Right, so that's like the difference, that's where the paddles sit. But on here, I just find these kind of awkward to press. Like, they don't sit here, I'd have to sit here and then move them in the way to touch them. And I know that it would take some getting used to, and I could probably do it, but it's not really for me. And so if I have to keep my fingers on them all the time as well, meh, I don't know. So yeah, on feel, I'd probably give a point to the original V2. Now on the price for what you get, this is interesting. So I looked at the past price history for both the V2 and the V2 Chroma. For the original V2, it seems to wobble roughly around about the 70, £80 mark, depending on when you look and where you look. And then the V2 Chroma, sometimes it can be up for 150, 160, whatever, but it seems to wobble around about the 120 mark, depending on if you just wait and are a little bit patient with it. So that gives you roughly 80 to 120, so it's about 40 quid difference between them. Now for the features that you get, considering you're basically just paying for the back paddles, going on price, it's going to depend on how much you want it. I think that on price, for the features, considering you get all 4 back paddles, when we compare it to the video that just went up about the DualSense Edge, that it's only going to have 2 back paddles total and this is going to have 4. If you can get it for like 120, 130, then yeah, I think that the V2 Chroma wins it on price. But if you're paying 160 and you're no massively fussed on the back paddles, I'm going to say go for the original V2 because I've seen it as low as 60 quid, and if you can get it for a steal like that, it wins out every day of the week. Overall, for me, I'm going to say that the V2 Chroma wins this on price, considering what you're getting for the features, but that's with the prerequisite that you must get it around about the 130 mark and not 160. So yeah, if you find it for 130, you get the features, I'll give it to the V2 Chroma. So wrapping it all up, that means that V2 Chroma wins across 5 of these areas. And what I would also say to you is that if you've been thinking about getting the Wolverine Ultimate, don't. Both of these controllers would beat that 5-0 in all cases. I don't care what anyone says. The durability is enough. It fell to pieces. I was even going to keep it to like show it on videos sometimes so I could do comparisons to it, but I got so pissed off with it that I just chucked it out. It was such a mess. There's a couple of shorts and stuff on my channel that show me going into it and ruining it and stuff. But yeah, pile of shit. We've established that it might have just been the one that I had, because obviously all my other controllers have stayed perfectly fine, for all yous that say that it's my fault. But all my other controllers are perfectly fine. But yeah, let me know if you are interested in buying one of these, if you have them and you have a different thought on it, if the back paddles are important to you, anything like that. Just leave a comment down below and I'll have a conversation with you. And if you do enjoy my content, don't forget to press that sub button. Still on the road to 2,000. Helps me out loads, doesn't cost you anything. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The world's fastest licensed Xbox controller. Elite esports design, all remappable buttons, swappable pro thumbsticks, custom paddles, swappable faceplate, works on the One, the S, the Series X, and PC, 8 times faster input responses, we'll come back to that later, surround audio by Dolby Atmos, a clutch trigger system that beats out the typical hair trigger system that we've seen in the past, an amazing dedicated app, a carry case, spare parts, a beautiful braided cable, 100 quid or $100. What? Victrix Gambit, let's go. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Steven. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Victrix Gambit. There it is though, beautiful. I have decided upon reviewing this that we are either being bumped by every other controller manufacturer that exists for features based on price, we're being bumped, scanned, whatever you want to call it, or Victrix have just found some sort of glitch in the matrix that allows them to make controllers with all these features for this price point. Blown away. I've been talking about this controller for quite a while, and I've only just managed to get my hands on it a little while ago to be able to review it. I saw the ad pop up on Amazon, and I was like, can't be right. It looked like a bump, like maybe it would be shit quality, or maybe like it was missing the stuff, it was saying the stuff that it had that it didn't actually have. But what? This is a very, very affordable pro controller with everything you could possibly ask for from a controller. So I'm going to just go through what it comes with, a kind of in-depth review of it, my thoughts on it, whether I think that it competes with some of the other ones, and that's kind of it. If you're new here, don't forget to click that sub button, helps me out massively, doesn't cost you any money at all. Still on the road to 2k, and hopefully we will make it by the end of the year. Anyway, let's go. So the Victrix Gambit comes in at 100 quid. This is a pro controller. They market it as the world's fastest licensed Xbox controller, and that is because in testing it came out as 8 times faster or 8 times less latency than any of the other controllers. Now that's an interesting point that I will come on to a little bit later on, but that is bloody good. Even we know my thoughts on latency, that is good. But let's talk about the way that it looks first. This is how it comes out the box. The normal white faceplate, cool dark buttons, little splash of purple under the sticks, purple on the back, paddles and all. It's quite a cool looking bit of kit. The only thing is that it might not suit your setup because you only get white or purple. I'd like to see a black one. That'd be quite cool. Aside from that, it is a nice looking bit of kit. It's very kind of aggressive gaming style, if you like, but it's a nice bit of kit. They call it an elite esports design. I don't know. This is going to be subjective again to what you like and what you don't like, but I kind of really do like the look of it. Purple is my go-to, as you can see from the things behind me. I do enjoy a purple color scheme, so that suits me just well. But as I say, the black one would be really nice. This comes with all remappable buttons through the dedicated app. The app is fantastic. It blows the Razer app out the water for me. It's so user-friendly. It has things like it lets you check on all the buttons. It lets you kind of troubleshoot to see if you're having any issues where you're having them, and then we'll try and fix them for you, which is amazing. It lets you remap all the buttons very, very intuitively, and you can mess about with the buttons that the back paddles are assigned to as well. Comes with the custom paddles. Now you might notice I'll put a video here. I talked about the DualSense that's incoming and that seems to have 2 paddles. This one does indeed have 4, but it also has an option for you to swap out to just 2. So it's as simple as this part here just pops out and you pop this one in, and instead of having these 2 on each side, you just have 1, which makes it quite similar to my, I'm now going to say previous favorite controller, which was the Razer Raiju. It makes it similar to that where it just has the 1 stick, but the choice of them is class. So it looks like it's already going to blow the PS5 one out the water as far as functionality goes. Not feel, but I'll get onto that later on. But as far as functionality goes, amazing. It has swappable thumbsticks. It comes standard with 2 normal concave standard height sticks, and it gives you 1 extra tall one, which I have put onto here because I just prefer that on the right hand side. It comes with a slightly stumpier one that is domed here. They change very easily. Faceplate just comes off like this, then the sticks come off here just like that, and then you just pop the other one on top, and it's as easy as that. So they're kind of, you know, they're keeping up with the other places. Although the thumbsticks aren't metal and they aren't amazingly kind of good quality in the case, the ones that come in, they still fit the bill, and I still really do like them. And I think if you were to put them with something like the precision rings, oh, you're talking about the increased or the decreased latency that it gives you, the fast response time. With the precision rings and the nice sticks, I think you could be onto an absolute winner for one of the best aiming controllers on the market. It's big claims. I know it's big claims, and it seems like I say this every time, but I've been talking about wanting to get a hold of this one for ages, and it just seems like it absolutely slaps. Here we go again. I'm still only at less than 2k subs. If you're on your phone, turn it this way, press the sub button. If you're on the computer, back out, press the sub button. It helps me massively. If you're on your TV, as I've said before, I have no idea how that works. So go onto your phone, sub to me, pretty please, because I'm getting sick of these little segues, and I just want to have 2,000 by Christmas. Thanks. Bye. The swappable faceplate, this is the purple one. I do like purple, but I feel like that's just too much for me. If they come out with a black one, I will almost definitely get it, but the purple one, not really for me. But it is nice for it to be able to do that. So you just swap that one out, and it gives it a little bit of a different look if that is what you are going for. This does work on the Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox One S, and the PC. And in most cases, I would imagine that a lot of people will be using it on PC. However, this is, I'm going to say now, the best controller for Xbox. Outright, I'm going to say, if you have an Xbox and you're looking for a pro controller, buy this bad boy, 100%. So the 8 times faster input speed. So they tested this against other leading brands. Now, I have a kind of theory on input lag and latency that I don't really think it exists anymore. However, the latency and input lag difference between mouse and keyboard, or your ability to be able to make fast micro adjustments on mouse and keyboard and controller, that disparity is still quite large. So I believe the difference in latency and input lag between controllers is so minimal now that it doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant. However, pushing towards making it closer to mouse and keyboard is a huge win, because anything that we can get to make the controller people closer to mouse and keyboard, the better. And so this being able to, in testing, push it 8 times closer to the mouse and keyboard players, that's ridiculously amazing. So when it claims it's the world's fastest, it has tested it against other Xbox first party and second party controllers, and it comes out on top by a lot. How can you go wrong with that? You can't. The surround audio by Dolby Atmos, it just means if you do plug in through the controller, you're going to get amazing surround sound audio straight through the controller. As I say, I'll be using it on a PC, and I'd have my headset plugged straight into the PC, so it's not really something that I'll be testing in a lot of detail. However, I'll take their word for it that if it matches up to all the rest of the features, then it's probably absolutely fantastic. The clutch triggers. Now this is an interesting one. These, apart from the Turtle Beach Recon, which I've talked about quite a lot, has the nicest feeling triggers ever. It's got this some sort of groove. It's not even rubber, it's plastic, but it has these grooves on it, and they're so nice. And the trigger system, now this is the first time I've seen this, because I've seen hair triggers where it'll let you stop it halfway, all the way, blah 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 blah. However, what you do is, when you push it in some of the way, you pull this little purple tab across, and it'll let you, wherever you stop it, that's where the trigger will go to. And if you just let it come all the way out, it has a tiny little bit of throw, which is basically like a mouse click. And when we're coming back to the world's fastest controller, it's so much like a mouse click, like some of the other ones. It's even shorter than some of the other hair trigger stuff I've seen, so like the Thrustmaster and whatever else, it's even shorter than that. So it is so close to being a mouse click that it is unbelievable. It's my favourite hair trigger system that I've seen so far, and obviously the most comprehensive, because it doesn't just give you 1, 2, or 3 different sections. You can have almost, well, not unlimited, but you can have as many as you need all the way down, depending on the game that you're playing. So that gets a massive thumbs up for me. Comes with a lovely carry case, which for the price, again, is pretty damn good. Carry case is nice as well, black and purple, good little bit of kit. And just the way it sits in there, even as a display piece, is pretty nice. It is, it's good. Yeah, if you're ever going to take this anywhere with you, which you probably will want to if you're going to use it somewhere else, it's nice, nice, nice. Because I'm a sucker for purple, I'm obviously going to enjoy this cable very much. However, how nice is that? It is a very, very top quality piece of kit. And it goes all the way into the controller, so there's no way that it's going to come out. It is wired, by the way. It's completely wired. It isn't wireless. But if you're in the world of pro controllers, you'll be probably pretty used to using wired controllers by now, I would imagine. And the cable is long. So it's long enough for you to use to plug into PC or Xbox and sit quite far away from the Xbox, should you wish to do that. The back paddles, as I said before, can be mapped to whatever you want relatively intuitively. They do take a wee bit of getting used to. They're out in a nice place. They're kind of similar to the ones that you'd see on like the Scuff or the old PS4 attachment. Yeah, once they don't take too long. Once you've got them, and they feel nice to click. They're relatively short throw, they're more like buttons rather than like paddles. Even though they are on the back, they feel like buttons rather than pulling on the paddles like you might have used in the past. But I kind of like that because it's very easy to use and press, and there's no issue with it at all. That's all of the pros. For 100 quid, that is ludicrous. So I've decided we're either being bumped by everybody, or they've just found a way to do this and they're a loss-making company and we're not going to get any more controllers from Victrix because they make stuff that's so damn cheap. Now going on to what few cons I have. What it's missing is, and I thought, see these up here? I was really hoping that, like on the Razer Wolverine and that, they have buttons just inside the triggers, just here. I thought that's what these were, and they're no. These are just sort of start buttons up the top, and I'm kind of upset about that. It is a big deal for me because when I talked about the V2 and the V2 Chroma, I love the V2 so much because it has those ones inside. Actually, I use those buttons more than I use the back paddles in general. So because I love this so much, I'm going to get rid of those buttons and I'm going to start just using the back paddles altogether now because this is such a goated piece of kit. I think if there was another iteration of it, that would be one thing that would be really worth adding in. The second thing is, doesn't it feel massively premium? It's very, very light, and the plastic it's made out of isn't fantastic. I think there are ways that you could up that, rubber grips for example, or the kind of rubber tape stuff that you can get to put onto it as well, that kind of grip tape might help. Not too much of a letdown, and you are only paying 100 quid, but also you can look at it two ways. You are only paying 100 quid, but you are paying 100 quid, so I would like to make it feel a little bit more premium. Maybe even just some weights in it, like Powerade done, and that would just make it feel a little bit weightier. There's probably a way I could do that myself as well, but hey, is what it is. And then the last one is no dead zone, ability to change dead zone. I think firmware update could probably fix that, but you cannot change the dead zone on this in the app, which is a bit sad. I'm hoping that because it's such an amazing thing, and I've seen in all the Amazon reviews that people have been experiencing no stick drift and so on and so forth, that we won't need to adjust dead zones, but it would be a nice thing to have. Some games obviously have it in it, like COD, you could go in and you can adjust the dead zone that way, but it'd be nice to be able to do it in the dedicated app. But anyway, that's all the features. That's where it comes from. That's my thoughts on it. Oh my god, I am mind blown by this. Just to reiterate, I bought this controller myself. It's not sponsored. I haven't spoken to them. Nothing like that. I don't even know if they're UK-based company, any of that kind of stuff. This is bought, and I'm just going in on it. I'd wanted it for a long, long time. And so that is all. So I've went over everything. I genuinely believe for an Xbox style controller, for either PC or Xbox, for your money, you will not get a better controller than this at the moment. On camera, willing to say it, this is now my favourite Xbox controller completely. It outbeats the V2 Chroma, which I put up the other day, but yeah, it beats that by a bit, and it is a lot cheaper. So yes, is what it is. I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to buy it from my Amazon affiliate link, when obviously I get a little small kickback if you do that, which I would highly, highly recommend. If you do have one, you're thinking about getting one, you have any questions about it, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, leave a like, and yes, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name's Steven, and today I'm going to be talking about the PS5 DualSense Edge controller, what we know, what we don't know, and whether I think we should be looking forward to it or not. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to click that sub button. We're on the race to 2,000. Leave a like, leave a comment, do what you need to do. Won't waste any more time. Let's get into it. So, a first party pro controller for PS5, finally. This was announced end of August at Gamescom. I've just not quite had a chance to get round to kind of having a look at it and talking about it yet, but it's something that I'm mega excited about, with the previous DualShock being one of my favourite controllers. And obviously I've reviewed a shit ton of pro controllers on my channel, so this is something that, you know, everybody needs and that I've been waiting for quite a long time. Of course, there are aftermarket controllers, things like Scuff which I'm not getting into talk about every single time. I'm not getting into SCAF, don't like it. But the DualSense controller will be a first party controller without having to go aftermarket. There's lots of shit I like about it, no very much I don't, and yeah, just kind of excited for it, so I couldn't go without doing some type of video on it. So everybody as a whole, even Xbox players, love a DualShock controller. There's no getting away from it. This is very, very exciting. It's a great controller, they feel amazing, they look amazing, they do what they need to do. A lot of the pros use them for a lot of stuff like Rocket League, so this is just a fantastic thing to hear about. Xbox have had 2 gens of Pro Elite controllers already before PS5's even getting one. So they're definitely behind, so we should be expecting big things because they've got a lot of past experience to go on from other people. However, this is their first stab at it, so they're probably going to make quite a few mistakes. We know that the Elite controllers banged. I like aftermarket ones, but the actual Xbox Elite controllers, they absolutely smashed. What do we think of the design from what we've seen? It's kind of nice. I mean, we like the original DualShock, it just kind of seems like they haven't really added much to it. It just looks like it's got a couple more bells and whistles, which is basically what it is. Personally, I don't think it really needed changed. I liked it. They could have done something to make it look a little bit more premium. However, I do like the look of it so far as from what I've seen. Features. Customizable buttons. Now on any controller, you would expect them, any type of Pro controller that you're spending any type of money on, you would expect some customizable controls, which we do have. This will be able to be changed in a third-party app where you can change, it does say some buttons, it doesn't say all buttons, but you'll be able to change some buttons, specifically probably the back ones and the triggers, to what you ever want them to be. You'll be able to tweak the dead zone and the stick sensitivity, which I know you can do in some games, but this will mean that you can just change it in the app and it will keep it for all of your games rather than having to change it in each game specifically, so it will be universal. And one of my favourite things about the other Pro controllers is it'll allow you to have profiles for different games, which you can change on the fly very quickly, i.e. you have a set of settings that you like for Call of Duty, you have a set of settings that you like for Rocket League, you have a set of settings you like for other RPG games, whatever. You'll be able to change on the fly and just switch between them, which is a really nice feature to have, so you don't always have to go back in and change stuff and change it and change it and change it. You can just do it one set of profiles. If you like different sensitivity for different games, you can change it that way. Bish bash bosh. Lovely, lovely feature. Okay, so yeah, I'm still under 2,000 subs. If you're on your phone, flip it around, click that sub button. I would massively appreciate it. If you're on a computer, back out, click that sub button. If you are on a TV, I don't know what to do. But yeah, it would be very much appreciated if you click that subscribe button. Costs you nothing, helps me massively, and you can obviously stay in touch with all my content as well as help a small creator. Thank you very much. We have customizable hair stop triggers, which is weird because the haptic triggers on the DualSense were meant to like go in certain games, like the bow on, can't remember what the fucking game is, but like the bow would dictate how far you pulled the trigger in, would dictate how far the bow came back and stuff. Anyway, this will allow you to have trigger stops to allow the travel distance of the controller to be less or more depending on what you're playing. Now this looks like it does have 3 stages, which beats out any controller so far that I've seen, which usually has like a shortened throw and then a longer throw. So this one looks like it will have 3, which may benefit a lot of people, it just depends. I like it, more is more is always more, especially when you're spending this amount on a controller. And the triggers also have these textured grooves on them, which look pretty cool, nice, just like it. Nice to look at, nice feel I guess, or it will be. We have now what has become standard, changeable sticks with 3 different types, your standard, high dome and low dome, depending on the game that you're playing, depending on the feel you want to go for. You will be able to change these out as you see fit. Now wait for it, here comes the big part. Changeable stick modules. Everybody hates stick drift when it happens on controllers. Now what you can do is you can buy replacement modules to swap out in the sticks. Oh, it's beautiful. Thrustmaster did it, but this is why I'm a little bit nervous about this. Great feature to have, however Thrustmaster made their modules dog shit, which meant that you had to keep on replacing them. Now I like the novelty of being able to change them, and I like the ability for the longevity of the controller to be able to change them, however I don't want to have to change them all the time. That gives me slight meh, because I want them to be amazing to the point where I don't have to change them, but if I need to, then I can. That makes sense? So yes, amazing con, amazing pro, potential con. We'll see how that pans out with the durability. DualSense durability seems to be pretty fantastic, so I can't imagine this will be any different. Fantastic addition for them to have made, and that puts them above the majority of Pro controllers, things like the Razer and things like the Elite and so on and so forth. We have no mention of battery improvement, which I feel like is an odd one because the DualSense, it's kind of one of the only areas where it was let down a little bit. But with this one, you do have a really nice braided cable that comes with it, USB-C, which is pass-through charging. Also comes with a case, and just like the Elite for the Xbox, you can plug into the case to allow it to charge pass-through. No mention of battery improvement. I'm hoping there might be a small one, couple of 100 milliamp hours or something like that, but there's no mention of that just yet. The back buttons, this was an odd choice. They've got 2 of them. They look odd. They look like they'll be nice to use and kind of ergonomic friendly and stuff, but why is there 2 of them? Why is there not 4? Like, this seems like a big oversight. I don't know if that's on feedback that they've gotten from people, whether it's for price, whether it's for, why not 4? Fucking add 4, you know? Maybe they'll come out with attachments for it, like they did with the back button attachment for the original DualSense, but I feel like it needs more. Still, nice, it's a start to a Pro Controller for PS5 and a move in the right direction. As I said before, it does come with that braided cable that you can plug in to use. I mean, it is going to be wireless, so I see no reason for you to use the cable to play with. I know that people talk about latency, but in my opinion, honestly, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not an issue. It's a non-problem. Play wireless. You're not shit because you're playing on wireless. You're shit because you're like me and you're just shit. But yeah, you have the option to do that, and that will maybe make you feel better, and the cable's meant to be nice. No launch date or pricing yet. That's going to come out in the next couple of months, but I would assume it's maybe going to be somewhere at like the 180 quid, $200 mark. And then to become competitive against the Elite on sale, it will probably go down to about 150 quid, $170 perhaps. It's going to come in, it's going to be an entry-level Pro Controller because it's coming up against absolute behemoths like the Razer controllers and like the Xbox Elites. However, this is an amazing start, and I feel like it's just the start for what PS5 can do in the Pro Controller area, especially wiping out dog shit, 300 quid, 500 quid scuffed nonsense pish that needs to disappear from the earth. But yeah, so this is a move in the right direction, and obviously everybody loves the DualSense. If you want something a little bit extra, this is something to look forward to. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited for it? What do you think? Do you think it's going to live up to the hype? Anything you've got to say, drop in the comments and we can have a little discussion. Drop a like, leave a sub, and I'll leave another couple of videos just in the next one on a couple of controllers that I think were better than this, that you can maybe go and review, have a skeg, see what you want to do. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm literally on a YouTube video pouring out how good I think the products are. Get off my socials. I'm not a fan on how much they try to market the product in the box, like, I always bought it, you win, stop trying to sell it to me. Ha 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 ha, stop bullying me, I totally get that. Can you make a review on the new Delta Hub Carpio 2.0 gaming version? The one with the strap. I'll see what I can do. So today, as per the comment request, I'm going to be going over the Delta Hub Carpio G2 Gaming Ergonomic Wrist Rest. This one is specifically designed for gaming. It is an ergonomic wrist rest, not much else to say. Make sure and stay tuned to the end of the video, as I will be giving away one of these wrist rests for free to a subscriber. Stay tuned to the end to find out how to get involved in that. There she blows. 2 disclaimers right off the bat. Number 1, I did reach out to Delta Hub and I asked them nicely if they could send me one so that I could review it based on the comment, and they have sent me out 2 of them. They sent me out a black one and a white one for free. I'm not sponsored by them, they don't pay for this video, they haven't paid me any cash or anything like that to say anything about it, so you can rest assured that this opinion is unbiased and honest from that perspective. I'm usually cynical about stuff like this, which is probably why I'm no sponsored by anybody and very rarely get any free gear from anyone to review. Never going to change that. Number 2, I've been using Delta Hub wrist rests for a very long time now, so you could say that I am biased because they solved my wrist and hand pain back in the day when I got the first one, and I've just upgraded and upgraded. So from that perspective, I guess I am biased, but not biased to the point where they've told me to say anything or I'm obliged to say anything good about it. If this is a bag of shit, I'm going to say that it's a bag of shit. Okay. So precursor and reason for this video, I've suffered with wrist pain and hand pain for a very, very, very long time. I've went over it in my other 2 videos about version 1 and version 2. I have early signs of arthritis in my hands and I've suffered with carpal tunnel. This is just from years of fighting, drumming, gaming, all sorts of things, and this started to present itself a few years ago with me where long stints of productivity or gaming would cause me massive issues, so I went on the hunt for something to assist me. As I started to hunt, these things were blowing up all over my social media, which you've probably seen as well, which might be why you're here, because you've seen adverts for them everywhere. But without sounding like a salesman, these things literally saved my hand and wrist life. Yeah, that's one way to put it. That's exactly what they did. So I've reviewed the last 2 versions of this, the V1 and the V2, which weren't designed for gaming. I will link these up above just now, and I'll also link them at the end, so if you want to watch through this and then watch through the other 2, feel free to do that, where I go into a little bit more depth of what they do and what they're for. But this one here, now this one beats the biggest bugbear that everybody had, which was it was shitty for gaming. So the guys at Delta Hub have listened to that and they've come up with a version that is suited to gaming. So you can still get all the benefits that you get from the original ergonomic wrist rest, but you can use it for gaming quite efficiently as well. So what is it? Put simply, it's a little piece of rubber and plastic. It looks like this. it sits on your hand just like this. I'll go on what the strap's for in a little bit. But it sits on like this. You sit your hand here and it puts your hand in a better position for anything that you happen to be doing with a mouse. So the mouse sits here, your hand sits on top of it, and it puts your wrist in a better position as opposed to being up like this. It sits it from here. That takes away the pain and the pressure on a lot of the joints that might be presenting and giving you pain through your long stints of productivity or gaming. In the box, as always, super impressed with the packaging. Always looks cool. It's even got a holographic thing on the front of it this time, and this fancy box thing, which seems to be a staple now. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. Try again. Box slides open like this. And inside you get obviously the wrist rest by itself, which is here. As I say, they do come in a white and a black version. Here's the white one, showed you the black one just a second ago. In the box you also get a little case that comes with it as well. Little carry case if you're ever going to take it anywhere. And then the nice little box, which, you know, they have amazing branding. They've clearly spent a lot of time on advertising and branding, which makes sense. So on the box it says, just tells you how to use it. It gives you a video on how to use it, what it's for. It does say that there's an adjustment period of 1 to 2 weeks, which I'll go into in a little bit of time. Actually, I think it's a little bit less than that, but 1 to 2 weeks just for, you might say this is shit and I don't need it and I don't want it and I can't use it. Actually, after a couple of weeks, that does actually go away. And then, yeah, they just make you feel like a nice customer when they give you stuff. This isn't even just like a creator box. This is the general customer box. So they haven't given me anything special, which I kind of like because they're not kind of trying to impress anybody specifically more than creators to get them to say anything better. Anyway, that's all. So talking about the adjustment period first. Obviously making any change to something that you've used for a long time, which is just that position on a mouse, making any change to that is going to take you a little while to get used to. This specifically does take a little bit more time. What you have to get used to is keeping your hand firmly placed down rather than lifting it off the surface. That was the issue with the original one because you had to physically keep your hand pinned all the time when you moved. With this one, now with the new strap, it keeps it firmly in place at all times. At this side, it's attached with a little magnet, which will stay there. And this side, it's just a little strap here, which keeps it in place and you can change it to the size to fit you. And that means that as you're moving it about the desk, it will not move anywhere. As per this, it just sits and straps onto your hand just like this. Regarding the adjustment period, it took me maybe a week, just under a week to get completely used to it. And now, honestly, I will not go without it. I use the other two. I've only obviously just picked these up. I've been using it for maybe a couple of weeks now, and I do use it for gaming. I still like the other one because I've gotten used to it and I'm very used to using the thing now. I find it extremely difficult to go without it whenever I come across a mouse or anything like that. I just can't not use it now. I don't know if it's just because of fear that I might get the pain back, or now it's just become something I'm accustomed to and I don't like working without it. So you might be stunned to know that actually I am under 2,000 subscribers still. If you do enjoy my content and you do want to see what else I get up to, please click that subscribe button. It helps me massively and will get me on my journey to be able to review more tech. And actually, nothing to lose, it costs you nothing. Either flip your phone this way, press the subscribe button, or if you're on a computer, jump off, click that sub button. And if you're on a TV, I have no idea how you would do it, so you get off free. But yeah, press that sub button, helps me massively. Thank you very much. Look, subjectively, I think these look good. It's just something a bit different in your setup that you might see. And actually the gaming one with the little vents and the different colors, I think it can fit into any sort of setup. And if you're looking for little trinkets, like some people like adding things to their desk setup, I think for photos and videos, it just looks quite nice, especially on like a hand cam or something like that if you're using it for streaming. Just a cool looking bit of kit. Now with the vents all over it, these things actually look pretty nifty. Before they were a little bit more boring, but now the vents on it, they make it just look that little bit more quote unquote aggressive, I guess, if you like. The features, the underside on this one is smooth and fast, completely rapid. You would never know it was there after you get used to it for a while. It's kind of like that PTFE Teflon feet that you get on mice that's super fast, flies about the thing, and it's so light you would never barely notice it's there, apart from the fact that it's giving you that super cushion on the bottom of your hand. The strap is good, it keeps it there. If you're going to use that all the time, you can get it on and off easily. It's got the little magnet. Once you set it up for your size, it makes perfect sense. And if you do want to remove it, you can remove it altogether. I don't think I would buy this if I wasn't going to use it with a strap. I think the other two do the job just fine if you're going to use it specifically just for productivity. But if you buy it and you want to use it for productivity and gaming and you just want to take the strap off altogether, you can do that. Still looks cool on the desk and it'll work as normal, just like the other two. The new vented edition means that it doesn't get sweaty under your hand before, and I mentioned this in one of the last videos. If you got quite sweaty and you lift it up, it would kind of stick to your hand for a while and fall off. This one, now that doesn't happen because you've got this vented look and it looks to be a slightly new material, which means it doesn't stick to you and it won't do any flying off the desk or anything like that unless you were to knock it off with your hand. But in general, yes, the vents are a good addition because they add a lot of airflow to stop you getting Mr. Sweaty hands. The price. So this is more expensive than the other two, $35 compared to $25 on the other ones, but it is arguably much better. For the price point, if you're somebody who's buying this just because it's a cool bit of gear and they've thrown it at you all over socials and you just want to kind of get involved in the branding, I don't know if you could justify the price. But if you're somebody who's looking to spend a bit of money to fix an issue that you've had for a long time, this isn't speaking to people who maybe just like the look of it and just want it. This is speaking to somebody from experience who's had this pain and experienced it and lived with it. If you've had that, you'll pay quite a bit for it. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it for the price if you're going to pay for it, if you're willing to do whatever it takes to get rid of your hand and wrist wrist pain to make your gaming productivity experience much better. So yeah, the price could be argued for or against. I think it's maybe a little bit steep, but I guess they're just recouping the costs for what it makes because it does have additional features, so therefore it kind of does have to be more expensive than the last one, I guess. Now on the branding, with the nicest will in the world, leave me alone. So I've had comments like this in my comments before as well, especially like the guy at the start in the comments. Like, their branding and advertising is so full on, it's like so extreme. So I searched ergonomic wrist rest once and I think it plagued me for like a year and a half. Even when I bought the first two, I was still like, go and buy another one, buy another one. I'm sold. You have a very good product. I am sold on it. Leave me alone. If anybody else has had this on socials or that, then let me know in the comments, because I've had conversations about this with everybody, and whenever I mentioned it to them, you know, the phone does that listening thing, and everybody's like, yeah, you spoke to me about this, now it's all over my page. It's not even a con that they can control, they're just very good at marketing. It's just fucking leave me alone for 5 minutes. I'm literally on a YouTube video pouring out how good I think the products are. Get off my socials. But anyway, back to all seriousness. So if you're somebody who struggles with wrist pain or hand pain, or you just like the look of these things, I think it's absolutely definitely worth picking up. 100%. I would not go back now to not using one for productivity, and now I'll be using this one specifically for gaming, I think, even though I've gotten used to managing with the other one. But this one will just make that a little bit extra and a little bit easier for me in general. If you have any questions or comments on it, please let me know down below and I'll be happy to help you out. As for the giveaway, make sure you are a sub, because I do have to go and check that. Leave a comment below whether you would want the black one or the white one, and I will pick a random winner in the next couple of weeks when we get enough entries, and then be in contact to get it sent out to you for free. So yeah, just make sure that you sub, leave a comment below with either the black one or the white one, which one you would like, and I will pick a winner randomly on the channel. But anyway, this was kind of a quick whistle stop tour of the G2 gaming. Thanks a lot to Delta Hub again for sending me it out. Don't forget to click the like, click the sub if you do enjoy my content, leave a comment with any questions, and that is all. Till next time, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma Edition. Going to go through my thoughts, feelings on it, and just tell you whether I think it's worth buying. Little backstory, I've obviously reviewed tons and tons of controllers on my channel. I've had this one for quite some time, I've just never really gotten round to reviewing it, and now is the perfect time for me to have a little look at it. While you're here, don't forget to click that sub button if you do enjoy my content, leave a comment below, leave a like, do what you need to do. I won't waste any more of your time, let's get into it. This is the big brother or sister of the Razer Wolverine V2. I've been over that in a lot of detail, and I'll leave a note up here. I'll leave a little card up here so that you can go and watch that if you like. But the name suggests that this would just be basically the Razer Wolverine V2, but with some RGB added, some chroma. That couldn't be further from the truth, given the features that they've added into this. This thing is an absolute behemoth compared to the original V2, which is a little bit confusing, but it is an exciting prospect for those who are looking to get into the pro controller world. What I will do is I'll do a separate video comparing the V2 to the V2 Chroma, and I'll just do them in an absolute versus. I'm not going to turn that in this video into that. This will just be a specific breakdown of the Chroma and my thoughts on it and what it comes with and whether I think it's worth it. And then, yeah, I will do a separate video on a comparison between the two, because I think that's important to see like for like, given that the prices are at the moment similar, but when they are full priced, they're quite far apart. So what I like to do right off the bat is, for those that can't be asked watching me waffle and chat shit for 10 minutes, give a view on whether I think it's worth it or not. So is it worth it for the price, the features it comes with, the durability, all those things? I'm going to say, if you're quite careful with your equipment, yes. If you're prepared to be careful with your equipment, then yes, it's definitely worth it, and it's a great jump into the pro controller world, or an upgrade if you have got a different controller and you're thinking about getting this one. If you sometimes break stuff, and you maybe aren't the most careful person in the world, maybe not the one for you, potentially. I don't know. Obviously, it's worth noting that I'm not paid by Razer, I'm not sponsored, I paid for this with my own money. All the opinions are just my own and based on my experience and some of the Amazon reviews I've read and some of the other reviews I've seen from other YouTubers. So yeah, we'll start off with the price. So it's currently, as far as the UK Amazon goes, £107.99, discounted from £150. Pretty wild. Looking at the price history, this thing is all over the shop. It's went all the way from 200 to 80 quid to 100 to 150 to 160. It's all over the joint, but it seems to have settled slightly now, and it sits around that 100 quid mark. So you can expect it, if you look at it for that time, pay that. If you're waiting for a Black Friday sale, then you can expect to get it even cheaper. I think the cheapest that it's been on this price chart is 80 quid. If you manage to pick it up for somewhere around the 100 quid mark, I think the price is ridiculously good for the features that you get in comparison to controllers that cost much, much more, i.e. bullshit scuff controllers, for example. So this is a good, solid choice based on all the features it comes with. Obviously comes with all your standard Xbox style layout buttons, as well as 6 additional multifunction buttons that can be programmed to whatever you want them to be programmed to. You can set them up in different profiles for different games if you're using the back paddles for different stuff, if you're using the inside triggers for different things. You can switch between the profiles in the Razer controller app, and it makes it simple just to jump between them for games if you're using maybe jump and slide for FPS, and then you're using, I don't know, boost or whatever for Rocket League. It sounds like I only ever play 2 games, but I promise I do play more than that, even if I'm currently hooked on emulator Pokemon Emerald. You can download the Razer controller app from the Microsoft Store. It's quite intuitive, it's a decent app. Used it before on other controllers, relatively good. It has 4 back paddles and 2 inside triggers. The 4 back paddles, there's 2 slightly longer ones where it would be on your ring fingers, and then 2 slightly smaller ones that normally sit on your middle fingers. This is a similar one that's been seen in other controllers. Depending on your preference, sometimes the paddles can be sat a little bit further away. These ones are in the middle. You do have to have quite large fingers or large hands to be able to get them comfortably. And that's what I've read. It seems to be the general consensus. We've been over this before on my channel. I have massive hands. It is not an issue for me. But the way that they've gotten around that is that this is quite a small controller in general. So you should be able to reach them unless you have tiny, 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 tiny hands. The 2 inside triggers are my absolute favourite. This was the reason why I still loved the original V2 even if it didn't have the full back paddles. Those 2 are the most useful buttons in my opinion. And they're just super user-friendly for every game. Like if you're not just specifically playing COD, if you're playing other games, they're useful for things to just map those to them and have other use cases, because your fingers sit there and you need very little movement to move between here and here. You can literally keep the middle of your finger onto the trigger, and you can use the end of your finger onto that inside trigger. It's a lovely, lovely little feature. It does have the classic hair trigger stops, which when you flick these little buttons across, you'll see that it shortens the throw or lengthens the throw depending on what you're playing. It has interchangeable thumbsticks, which for me, I've always found a gimmick. Maybe it's because I'm not good enough at games to understand the differences you can make, but for me, it's always been a gimmick. In all the controllers I've had, I've never swapped them over. I've used kind of the control freak rings or whatever, but I've never seen the need to have longer ones. I tried them, they didn't really make a difference. I didn't like them. I just wanted to go back to the original ones that I was given in the first place. It is a wired controller, so it isn't a wireless option, but you should expect for most of these higher end controllers where you're wanting to go the pro controller route, they are wired. It does come with a super long braided cable, which is really nice, and it is also USB-C powered. It doesn't have the latch like I've seen in some of the other controllers, like the Raiju, where you'd put it in and it kind of clips in. It doesn't fall out by any stretch, but it just doesn't have clips either side to kind of really properly hold it in. I've not had any experience with it falling out, but yeah, is what it is. It has fully customizable RGB strips, which are a really nice feature to this. Obviously the one previous had 2 little green strips, but this one's fully customizable for you aesthetic heads out there. You can change it to whatever you want, and it is a lovely, lovely little feature, which is obviously classic to all of the Razer gear, updated in the Razer Chroma app. Comes with the standard rubber grips, which are amazing feeling. I've talked about this before, that they get stinky when I use them in my hands. They never used to, or the other controllers that I've used got stinky because of the rubber that they use on them, but this one didn't get that before you all start ripping me about my hands. This one didn't get stinky, which is good. It is 620 grams, which is, you know, kind of standard for controllers, but it does feel very light in the hands as well. And it has a standard headphone jack that you can plug in your headphones, mic, whatever you want to plug it in. Plug in it. Plug in it. Next up is look. It's a very nice looking controller. There's no getting away from that. Razer make very nice looking gear. I don't even think that's subjective. I don't even think that's up for debate. They make really nice looking gear. Logo's nice. It's always sleek looking, made of nice materials in general. And yeah, it's a good looking piece of kit. If you are buying this for the look, and I feel like a lot of people will for the RGB specifically, the problem is that with it being wired, you can't use the RGB without it being wired, and if you're going to display it somewhere, like in a stand or whatever, you're going to have it plugged in if you want the RGB to be shown all the time. And I feel like that's a little bit shit. I know that that's like me picking, but I would prefer it to be able to just sit there lit up. I don't know, does anybody else feel that? Just me? It's just a thing for me. I'd like to have it sitting up and lit up without having to plug it in. I don't know how they'd even manage that. Separate battery, USB in the back or in the bottom where the headphone jack is, something to put it in a stand to keep it lit up all the time. I don't know, something like that would be useful, just for the nice aesthetic look that it would give. The look, it kept the best parts of the classic Xbox controller, just downsized a little bit and added Razer's sheen over the top of it, so nice looking bit of kit. Now, this one, durability. I seem to come to this every time I get Razer gear, but I'll always come back and buy it and buy it and buy it and buy it. So this one, thankfully, isn't as bad as some of the other ones I went through, like Tournament Edition, the original Razer Wolverine, and so on and so forth. However, there is one big part on this one, and before everybody comes at me, like, because this seems to happen in all the videos where I talk about durability, I spend a lot of money on this stuff, and therefore I would not want to break it. I take care of all of my stuff. It's just that maybe I'm rough with it, or maybe I'm I don't know, but none of my other gear breaks, it's just Razer controllers. Like, the other stuff is fine. If you watch all my videos, I'll always give stuff good reviews where it is good. It's just that there always seems to be something goes wrong with these Razer controllers. Thankfully, this one, it's not enough for me to say to you not to go and buy it because it is very small. The back trigger in this one, right at the top, suddenly has a ton of play in it. It's going to be difficult for me to show you here, but this suddenly has a ton of play. And what that's meaning is that it's impossible to double click it if you should you choose to do that, because it just won't move. You press it and it doesn't register. You have to press it all the way in and it's just wiggly. I don't know why that is the case. It's just not a nice thing, you know? So I thought it was worth mentioning. The second thing is, and I mentioned this about the other Razer controllers that